Well, good morning. My name is David Dubchuk, and I go by the name Creative Dave because, let's face it, Dubchuk is not spell check friendly. And I teach individuals and businesses and students and teachers how to activate their genius modes so that they can make creative innovations every day. You see, we seem to live under the notion that geniuses are the few people who come around once or a couple times each century that cause world-changing seismic shifts, while the rest of us are confined to the doldrums of our sweatshops and cubicle farms. Yet at the same time, 77% of CEOs say that they can't find the creativity and innovation skills they need, and 60% of CEOs say that creativity is the most important resource they have to keeping their businesses competitive. Over and over again, we see organizations fall by the wayside because they couldn't harness their army of employees to find creative solutions to new threats in their marketplace. While businesses that embrace creativity enjoy 1.5 times the market share of businesses that don't. So why does this happen? Let me illustrate with a story. I'm going to start out with the most famous person you've never heard of. And it's a little surprising to me that Philo Farnsworth is not a household name. You see, because he invented the television. And the story goes like this. Besides being a brilliant scientist, he was a potato farmer in Utah. And in the 1920s, many people were working on trying to invent the television. Many people had this idea of a way of transmitting moving images electronically, like a radio with pictures, is what they said. And so one day, Philo was thinking about this problem while he was plowing his potato field in rows, one row at a time. And the thought occurred to him that one row at a time might be a way of creating an image on a screen, and if it happened fast enough, it would look instantaneous. And so, after years of experimenting and trying to figure this out, in 1927 he debuted his first working model of the television, where the image was created one row at a time, fast enough that it looked instantaneous. But here's the problem with that. We hear stories of people who have flashes of brilliance, of the Wright brothers, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Elon Musks, or to take it further, the guy who invented the Nike track shoe by pouring urethane into a waffle iron, the guy who invented the microwave by noticing that his chocolate bar melted next to his radar antenna, the guy who invented penicillin by noticing that bread mold killed bacteria. And when we say, I want to hire creative people, that is usually the type of creativity that we're going for. But that is accidental creativity. People who had flashes of inspiration and were able to do something with it. So when I was in elementary school, my family used to say that I was curly-brained. I was able to come up with these wacky ideas. And I thought that's just how everyone thought. Until my 4th grade teacher called me creative, and I realized that she just said that as a euphemism for odd. You know, oh, David, yeah, he's creative, you know. But when I hear people say, I want to hire creative people to be innovators, I mean, that's a good thing. We want that, but is this what we're doing? Or are we hiring eccentric people to have happy accidents? So do we want to invest in eccentric people and hope that they have good creative accidents? Or do we want to invest in the skills that make people creative? You see, genius isn't born. Genius is learned. Genius is the ability to combine 2 or more things into a new thing or a new idea. Based off of research and observations and questioning and discussion, I was able to build a framework, a formula, if you will, to being able to turn anyone into a genius. And that formula is this: creativity equals psychological safety, the ability to ask questions and make mistakes, plus curiosity, the ability to notice things and make connections, plus divergent thinking, the ability to make your mind go in many different directions and think of many different things. This is how we activate our genius modes. If we can implement creativity into our businesses, our lives, our classrooms, and combine it with well-known organizational creative processes, here's what happens. We go from relying on happy accidents to having intentional processes that we can use on demand. We'll have a workforce that has practiced methods for creative ideation and evaluation. We'll have a genius mode. You see, most people ask, how can we do things better? And that's a good question. But once you activate your genius mode, you start to ask, how can we do better things? And here's what that does for your business. An employee who is just stuck in their ways, unable to embrace anything new, we would call that a sabotaging employee. They have a negative financial impact on your business. They're the people who think the way we do things is good enough. If you have an employee who just doesn't have their genius mode activated, we would call that stagnant. They're a good employee, but they just go do the day-to-day. But then we have our accidental creative. They have spontaneous good ideas from time to time that can add value to your business. But as we see, as we move up the ladder of intentionality to having an amazing ability not just to harness their own creative processes, but also find unique solutions to problems and lead others through this, an employee with their genius mode activated can provide 3 times the value of a stagnant employee. This was demonstrated, a study done in Philadelphia. So, employees of the city government of Philadelphia were given what was called the Epstein Creativity Competencies Inventory for Individuals. Ooh. But it's kind of a well-known creativity test to see how good we are at specific creative skills. And the purpose of this study was to show that that test was a reliable measure of creativity and a reliable measure of your growth over time with practice and coaching. Now, after the practice and coaching and 8 months worth of data, here's what we showed. Is that after 8 months after their creative training, new ideas presented by employees to managers increased 55%. They were able to find new ways to generate over $600,000 in new revenue, and at the same time, reduce expenditures by $3.5 million using very few job cuts. All of this came as a result of activating their genius modes, of having creative training and practicing it. Having your genius mode activated can add tremendous value to your company. Now, my background is in education. For the past 10 years, I have been a middle school computer science teacher, and people look at my resume and they say, man, is there anything you haven't done? Because I've been fortunate to have a wide variety of experiences. For either my second job or my summer job or my high school and college jobs, I've been a swimming coach, a pool manager, a golf cart attendant, a TV news cameraman, a computer repair technician, an astronomy educator at the Smithsonian, a science presenter at the Science Museum of Iowa, a video producer, and a community theater board member. Woo! Last summer, I finished my master's degree in education, and my studies gave me this broad knowledge of creativity, but my thesis specifically focused on the freedom to fail aspect of psychological safety. And all of these opportunities gave me insight into what most people do when we need creative solutions. And it's a mistake that I made too early in my teaching career. You see, every educator recognizes the importance of creativity. We all try to make our kids exercise their creativity, but the way we do it is the same way we've done it in every organization I've ever been a part of. When we want people to be creative, we tell them to be creative. And that's it. Every organization I have ever been a part of has relied on accidental creativity, the hope that someone could produce a creative solution. So as an educator, I really shouldn't have been that surprised when most of the work my students did, even when it was supposed to be creative, really wasn't that creative, except for, maybe the handful of students that had that accidental creativity that all teachers like to brag about. And if we're relying on accidental creativity, is it any wonder that 77% of CEOs can't find the creativity and innovation skills they need? If you're a business, I can inspire your workforce to believe that they have a genius mode and want to turn it on. I can help you work with your business to ensure you have the right environmental practices, the right thought processes individually, and the right institutional tools to move up the scale and ensure that we're not relying on accidental creativity to keep up with the ever-evolving marketplace. If you're a school, I can inspire your students to help them understand what genius is and that it's taught, not born. I can work with your teachers to complement their desire to teach creatively with the toolkit to teach the mindset and processes that go with it. My website is creativedave.net, and on it you will see my book, Activate Your Genius Mode, which breaks down the creativity formula and helps you expand your skill set for each part of the equation. And I am an active educator, so during the school year, I serve just a small number of clients in order to make sure that everyone I serve, I can serve well. And I want to hear about the creative challenges you face. So head on over to creativedave.net and contact me so we can get started. Thank you.